Welcome back, baseball fans, to this Eliminating the San Francisco Giants video. They were got a number 2 seed in the National League, raised some eyebrows. Are they that good? Well, they lost 4-2 to the Pirates. They seem to be overmatched. They did have some close games and some close losses in there. They fought hard. 2 years ago, they were in the League Championship Series. Then they tumbled last year, hardly slumped. They were 17-19. This year, they finished 23-19. That's a 6-game improvement. Got to the divisional round. Have to wonder, though, about how much youth they're injecting into this team. They're just running a lot of older guys back. They do have Gary Matthews to this team now, so that's youth. But they scored 170 runs, gave up 174. So they're pretty fortunate. Had a lot of good fortune overall this year to get where they got to. So Jim Howarth is a marginal utility player, led the club in hitting with a 306 average. Just nothing to write home about. They can boast Chris Spire, a very good shortstop, a rangy 270 with home runs. Ed Goodson's a good left-handed hitting third baseman. Gary Matthews, solid left fielder. Bobby Bonds slumped. He gets the homers and steals, but the batting average was a big fade. Dick Dietz has had better years. He's actually just a platoon catcher now. McCovey really tailed off, as you can imagine, as he's getting older. Fuentes had his moments, but otherwise slumped. Steve Hamilton really had a fine year in the bullpen with an ERA just below 1. 3 walks, 19 strikeouts too, by the way. Nice whip, 7 saves. In the loss column, you'll see that 1 there. 1 loss. Well, that's how their season ended. Their season ended with their best guy on the mound, and that's a walk-off homer to Pop Stargell in the divisional round game. Juan Marichal was 7-5 a year ago. He's 7-5 again. He's not the pitcher he was in '69, but he's still good enough. Certainly great enough here. 2.43 ERA with a 1.10 WHIP. Jim Barr emerged as a viable number 3 starter. Ron Bryant's ERA was a little high. He got rocked a few times. He shows promise. Bill Parsons, just a 1-year rental. Charlie Williams did a decent job. Mike Caldwell has to do a better job. Carryover Thursday is the long man. He doesn't matter too much. And to the future of the Giants' plans here, let's take a look now at the Giants stack as this team is getting older and older. And eventually they're just going to, by the time the mid-late 70s roll around, this team won't really matter a whole lot in the National League. This is the sad thing to say, as they would make some mistakes in the front office, I would say, if you're letting guys like Gary Matthews and Gary Maddox get away from you. Those are 2 young star outfielders that are gone by 74, 75. So they also let go of, or they got Bill Madlock, but they didn't hold on to him. Did a lot of strange moves. This is going to be, of the 12 guys coming back, loaded with hitters, 9 hitters and 3 pitchers, which means they're going to need to rebuild a pitching staff, but that's not bad because they have plenty of pitchers in the minor leagues. It's actually 8-4, so they're going to have to get half of their pitchers. You got 4, they're going to need 4. So we have, well, the catchers are gone now. McCovey is a DH glorified first baseman. You do have Fuentes at second. Goodson can play third. Spire, there's your star, shortstop. For this timeline, that's a great performance for him. And then you have a utility infielder in Bobby Heiss, or basically he can platoon with Ed Goodson. And then in the outfield, you do have Matthews, who you really should hold on to. So through 73, so at least a couple more years, got to hold on to him. Don't let him go to Atlanta that soon. JLU, mostly over here against lefties. And here's this very strange Jim Howarth guy I was talking about. Very weird template of where stuff should be and where it isn't. It's got a homer on 312 here. It's got a homer 1-6 on 6 over there. Strat-O-Matic had to make that 1-6 because basically he hit 1 home run in 119 at-bats. One of the most bizarre cards I think I've seen. And the pitching, yeah, it's good. And now Bryant is your 2, Barr's your 3. You could easily bump these guys up to 1 and 2 because you got Caldwell and Williams wanting to get in the rotation. They were in the bullpen. That could be a 4-man rotation right there, but these guys are presently in your bullpen. Caldwell and Williams. So you have your choice to either build through starting or build through relief with the 8 guys you decide to keep, waive, and retire. How old are the Giants going to get? We're about to find out. All right, let's take a look at the 8 1971 players, beginning with Bobby Bonds. Oh boy, big moment here. Now, of all the outfielders who have moved on, Bonds will move on as well. But if I'm the Giants, I know he moves to the Yankees, the Angels, and then after that it gets crazier than that. It gets to the White Sox, Texas, Cleveland, St. Louis, Cubs. If I'm the Giants, I kind of feel like you need to hitch your wagon to this guy. Because if you sold out on Matthews and Maddox by the mid-70s, just hang on to this guy, Bonds, particularly since the son would play there in the future as well. You've got a nice year in 73 that you can use next year. Gold Glove, 3rd in MVP, so he's a keeper. Let's just push this forward a little bit further. So he could play with that card all the way through the 76 season. Then he would need a new card through 77, and he goes to the Angels. So I'd max that out and maybe skip the New York thing, skip the Yankee year. It's only 1 year. And then maybe even the White Sox make a play for him. But I'd hold on to Bonds for at least 2 more years. Got to do that. So we're going to put Bonds here, 10,000. Next player, Dick Dietz, and he is not done yet. Something about catchers who get on base. If you're a catcher, learn how to walk. You know, with the strike zone, you sit behind the plate for 9 innings. You know what the strike zone looks like. So when you're a hitter, walk. And Dick Dietz goes, I know what the strike zone looks like. Let's look at this guy. Let's go right to the career numbers. Career on base of 390 in 8 years. Nothing to sneeze at here. Lifetime 261 hitter. Lifetime 815 OPS. Just, you know, he played from age 24 to 31. Had a nice little career doing everything you want your catcher to do. 70 was the monster year, though. The 941 All-Star appearance. We played the 71 card. 72, don't worry about that because we're coming back with 73. I know he's with Atlanta, but I'm taking this card. My goodness. 295, 474. That's right, folks. That is not a misprint. Dude's got a 474 on base with Atlanta, who's currently the #1 seed of the National League. You do not let this guy go to the Braves with everything they have. So Dick Dietz, you got Fran Healy as your other catcher, don't you? So you can cut him. Actually, I think Fran Healy's contract is up as well. But I'm keeping Dick Dietz. He's a monster. Next up, well, it is Fran Healy, actually. And yeah, actually, you can let this guy go. I'm guessing. If you have Dietz. Big catcher, 6'5". Fran Healy. Now, did you pay attention to the on-base percentage class? Well, actually, you know, give him credit for his on-base is 79 points better than his batting average. So, yeah, he did pay a little bit of attention. Not quite the on-base machine Dietz is, but who is, right? I think Kansas City's going to come knocking for their catcher because by 73, he plays 4 years in the middle of this timeline for the Royals. Has a nice year in 73. Does he get waivers for the 72 Giants? To consider waivers before we think about trading him. So let's see if he's on the 72 Giants. We're going to go to the roster page for this 72 Giants and see if he's there. Fran Healy. So you can get waivers on him, but he's also a trade target. The problem is, you know, like a utility catcher, it's not typically the type of guy a team would trade for. They'd call it, Kansas City would call the Giants bluff and go, you're not going to hold on to him, you're going to put him on waivers. So right now he's considered a keeper, but he's probably going to be on waivers by the time this process is all over with. Rich Reese was added because they needed a left-handed bat and they needed defense at first base to caddy for McCovey. And so they brought this guy in for his 71 season, and he did pretty much just that. Nice glove, but a 219 average. We have to ask the question, does he get waivers for the 72 Twins? Probably. Let's double check though. Rich Reese. It's always better to put a guy on waivers instead of retiring him. There he is. He's a Twin, so we can waive him. Rich Reese. And in reality, they might just let McCovey play first base as a poor fielding first baseman. Don't really worry about it. A defensive backup for him. All right, here we go. It's Juan Marichal time. So, the way this worked was the 69 card we used for 4 years. 4 years we used the 69 card. Let's take a look at the stats. 69, here he is with a 2.10 ERA. Did he win the, I know the All-Star. Did he get the Cy Young? He got MVP votes. Can we see anything else? Okay, no Cy Young votes. Got Cy Young votes with the card we just used. Okay. So we used this for 4 years. Then when that card was up, we skipped 1970 because he had an ERA of 4. And we picked up 71 for 2 years. Now we're getting to here and here. Now he can still pitch. He can pitch on 3 days rest. And he's a Giant, and it's a no-brainer. So this is one of those things where sometimes teams hold on to guys too long, but still he's a fine starting pitcher. He's just not going to be as good as he once was. But you got to leave him on the Giants. He had a cup of coffee with Boston in '74 and the Dodgers in '75. Next up is Bill Parsons. Was not with the short career. Was not with the Giants. Giants traded Sam McDowell to the Brewers for this guy. Played for the Brewers, then Oakland. And it might be over for him. 71 card, and actually, you know what? 2 seasons. Okay. On the rotation, then things fall apart for him at age 24. Probably had arm problems, I'm guessing. Second Rookie of the Year voting with this card I just used. So really, he's a steady pitcher. We know his card exists. He's good enough to be kept. You don't put a guy who can pitch on 3 days rest on waivers. It just doesn't make sense. So Parsons has some value to this team as a trade chip. So we're going to make him a keeper and say trade. He's not going to go on waivers, though. He's definitely not going to go on waivers. He's either going to be a Giant, or the Giants are going to trade him to a team that needs yeah, he'd be a heck of a trade chip, actually. All right, 2 more pitchers. The first is Don Carruthers. He actually has more time with the Giants, and he actually has a nice card coming up. You know, it's funny, but yeah, here he is. It might be an Expo card, but he's got a nice card in '74 in this timeline. Probably gets waivers in '72. May have to do that here. This is one of those things where if you protect the guy, then you might regret that because you're locked into him, and you might find you lost the opportunity to find somebody better. So there's Carruthers. We can put him on waivers. Let's do that. I know he's got some juice left in him, but that juice was wearing an Expo uniform, if I'm not mistaken, here in '74. 72 and 73. Look, he's terrible with the Giants, so they're not going to want him. And the last pitcher we have here is Dave Steve Hamilton. Steve Hamilton had an awesome card. We should probably look at the splits for him. Got to look at the splits here with a 71 card. We're going to look at the stats first because it's a small sample size. 44 innings with a 3.02 ERA. Let's look at those 71 splits. And I'm sure it's the left-handed batters hitting less than 150 or something horrible like that. Yeah, here we go. So left-handed batters had no shot against this guy. They were 70 at-bats. They were 8 for 63. They hit 127, 174 on base, 222 slugging, 396 OPS against Steve Hamilton. And how many walks? Just 3 walks and 23 strikeouts. You see, this is why this dude's got nothing on his card. There's no walks, no hits, no nothing on this dude's card. And he's actually pretty good against righties. Gives up extra base hits, though. Well, enough of that. Let's see if his career continues. We'll go back to the overview for Hamilton. He was a Yankee. He never really went to the... Oh, he did go to the Giants in 71, yeah, with his card. But really was a Yankee. And so in 72, he only has 17 innings with the Cubs, and they're not very good. I'm pretty sure that card doesn't exist. We'll take a peek here. See if there's a 72 Hamilton with the Cubs. And not listed there. And we'll look at the Cubs pitchers just to confirm. Not there. So we're going to retire him. We need to retire a guy anyway. So they got 5, 2, and 1. So to recap, they're going to keep Bonds. They're going to keep Dietz. They're going to keep Marichal. And it comes down to Fran Healy and Bill Parsons and Don Carruthers. One of the three. Probably not Healy. You already have one catcher. You don't want to protect 2 keepers in the same draft. You can find one of those guys on waivers somewhere. Plus Dietz is a plus hitter. Bonds is a plus hitter. Marichal's Marichal. I'm thinking I keep Bill Parsons. Like I said, he pitches on 3 days rest. Kansas City should probably go get Fran Healy. But right now they have a trade chip. They have 5, 2, and 1. They need to get down to 4, 2, and 2 before the draft. We can go up now and see how well we are doing overall with keep, waives, and retires. 26 teams are now retired for the year, or over for the year. We're expecting 104 keepers and 52 waive and retired players. We're +6 to 110, +3, so we're 9 under par now, so we're getting better. We have 9 guys that need to be retired. That's excellent. That's excellent. You want guys to retire because there are going to be some weaker guys on the waiver pool that aren't so good. And not all these keepers, like I just said in this video with the Giants, are not going to be able to keep all 5 of these guys. So some of these guys who we think are keepers, they're going on waivers because there's just not enough room. And that's good to have a nice waiver pool of desirable players. That's it tonight for eliminating the San Francisco Giants. Hope you're enjoying this elimination series. Thanks for checking this out. We'll see you next time.